Hi, my name's Raf. Welcome to our academy. I thought I'd do a series of videos for the children these days because of the coronavirus, so it's going to be a bit difficult. They get a bit bored, so I thought I'll do a couple of videos of maths to keep them occupied so they don't get bored. So basically today we're going to be doing fractions. It's for basically age groups of around about 7-year-olds to 8-year-olds, but anybody can join in, just to have a bit of fun. It's going to be basic maths, it's not going to be really difficult, but I will be doing some extra videos then after this run as a part 2 for older children up to about 10. Basically I work as a volunteer with the council, and I'm usually down the hub on a Wednesday as a homework club. So we teach kids pre-primary school, so when primary school before they go into high school. So we set them up so that they know the basics of maths and that, so that they know that they can get good marks later on in high school. So being at home now, doing nothing much, so I thought if I do these videos for the kids, I love working with kids, and it'll help them. So we're going to make a start now. So basically with fractions, we have 3 types of fractions, which are unit fractions. This would be a unit fraction. And then we have a non-unit fraction. This would be a non-unit fraction. And then we have another one which is a mixed fraction. So you've got a whole number and a fraction would be called a mixed fraction. 1/8 would be a unit fraction, and a non-unit fraction would be where you've got a numerator and denominator. Denominator would be the lower one, and the numerator would be the top one, or I call it a multiplier. So basically, because it's not a single unit, like a 1, if it's got a 3, which is a multiplier, then it will become a non-unit fraction. Okay. So before we get into how to add fractions, etc., let me explain to you what a fraction is. A fraction is basically a part of a whole. So basically, if you look at, say, a pie would be, or a pizza would be whole, and then a part would be, which is a fraction, would be, say, a quarter. That's a quarter. So a quarter would be part, which would be a fraction. It's a fraction of the pizza. So a half would be half a pizza, so it will be written as, and then this one, 3/4, will be 3 of them, so 4 slices. That's why it's called a fraction, because it's a fraction of a whole. Okay, so basically to add, if we was going to add a fraction to a fraction, it would be like, say, 1/2 plus 1/4 actually 1/2, we'll stick to 1/2 because it'll be easier for you to understand what I'm going to do next. So a half plus a half equals 2 over 2, which is 1. So it's a whole. So in other words, a half a pizza plus a half a pizza equals 1 pizza. So if you had, say, one 16 plus 2 16, it would the bottom number, which is will stay the same, which is the denominator, will always stay the same. So 16 is carried on, and then 2 plus 1 would be 3. Okay, so minus would be similar. So say if you was to minus, so you had 2 16, or say 3 16, minus 2 16. 16 still remains the same denominator, and then this one would be 3 minus 2 is 1, so 1/16. You'll come across quite a few ways of explaining and doing fractions, but how I always try to explain to the kids is by using food, like a pizza. So say for argument's sake, if you wanted to establish what 1/8 would be, let's say for example this 1/8, you would then have to look at a pie or a pizza, a circle, and split that into 8. So it basically means that you've got 8 slices. So 1/8 means 1 slice out of 8. Yeah? So if you shade that in, hope you can all see that, that would be 1/8. Yeah? So 1 slice in every 8. Okay? So if it was, say, 1/6, then again you can just do another pizza. You can't work on the same pizza because now it's 6 slices. So you would have to do 6 slices. Yeah? So 6 slices, that would be still 1 slice of the pizza, but now it's 1 slice of 6. And that slice would be bigger than that one. Why? Because the higher the number, the more slices there are, therefore the slices are shared, and therefore the slices become thinner and thinner. So like if that was 12, say for argument's sake, 1/12, 1/12, then you'd have to draw a pizza and you'd have to have 12 lines in it. Obviously it's going to be like half of these, because if this was 6, then it's going to be like that. Quite a lot of lines, isn't it? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like it'll just carry on and on. 12 slices getting thinner and thinner and thinner as the number's going up. So therefore, as the number goes up in number, say from a quarter to a 6 to an 8 to a 12th to a 20th, the slice becomes smaller because you have to fit more slices in there. So getting back to adding fractions, so say if you had 1/12 plus 2/12, like so. This is pretty straightforward, so you would just say 12 remains the same, as I said, explained before. And then the 1 plus 2 equals 3. Okay? Which actually can be simplified. But we can get into that later, because it's going to be a bit too difficult at the moment. Let's get this in first. So what I'm trying to say is this is simple because the number here is the same as that. So what do you think is going to happen if we turn around and say 1/6 plus 212 equals what? Now if you look at the number at the bottom, it's bigger. This one is bigger than that one. So it can't work. Because this number remains the same, you have to bring this number up to that number. So this would only work if you could multiply that one by 2 to make it 12. And you'd have to multiply that one by 2 to make it 12. And then you'd add that one to that one to make it 4 over 12. That's how you would do it. Or you could simply do it another way. There's always two ways to do something in maths. I'll show you the other way as well, which I find is quite easy as well. So when you get the same scenario, you would say 12 divided by 6. So it would go like this. You divide first, then multiply. So 12 divided by 6 equals 2. And then you say 2 times 1. So then you divide, then you multiply. So 2 times 1 equals 2. Yes? So the first answer, it would be 2 times 6 and 2 times 2. 2 times 1, 2 times 6. So if you do this one first, because you've done the division, and you do the multiply. So whatever you do to the bottom one, you have to do to the top one. You leave that one alone, because we have to work on this one to make the bottom row the same. But by making the bottom row the same, you have to do something to the top row for this one. Because you've done something to the bottom, so now you have to do something to the top. So it's 6. 6 times 2 is 12. And then 1 times 2 is 2. Plus 2 over 12 equals 4 over 12. Which is 1/3. But we'll come to that later, like I said. It's simplifying it. We don't want to get into simplification yet. We go to the same. Instead of plus, we can say, let's do minus. So you've got 2/12 minus 1/12. Okay? So because these are the same, so you just carry that on. And then 2 minus 1 equals 1. Okay? So that was pretty straightforward, basic. But what are you going to do if you've got 2/8 minus 1/4? Now if you look at that, you've got an 8 there, and you've got a 4 there. You can't take away 4 from the 8. It's not, fractions don't work like that. So what you have to do, you have to build this one up. This 4 has to become an 8, so that we can then keep it the same. So to do that, we go back to the same thing as what we did last time. We can either divide 8 by 4 and we get 2, and then multiply the 2 by the 1 by 2 to get 2. Or the other way was to just multiply this 1 by 2 to make it 8, and then do the same with that one. So there's both ways of doing it. If you don't understand one way, just do the other way. So my understanding is it might be better for you to follow that rule of dividing first, like this, and then whatever the answer you get here, multiply, like that. So divide, multiply. So this one would become 8 divided by 4 equals 2. Yes? And then you take the 2, which is now your multiplier, and times that as well. So this becomes now rewritten as 2 over 8 minus 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 times 1 is, that same 2 times 1 is 2. Now it's become the same. Now you can finish the question and answer it by saying 8 remains the same. 2 minus 2 is 0. So 2/8 minus 2/8 is 0. Because basically you've got nothing left. Which is the same thing, that simplified would be the same thing as 1 over 4, which is quarter, minus 1 over 4 is a quarter. You take a quarter away from a quarter, you're left with 0. If you do write it 0 over 4, it doesn't really matter, because it's still going to be 0. Okay? I think odd figures usually something like 3 over 7, and then minus from, say, 2 over 21, where you've got a common, you'd have to commonly make that into a larger number, otherwise it ain't going to work. So 3, and make that into a 2. So it's easy for you to read. Yeah. So basically, for that to work, you can't take away 2 from 3 and say it's going to be 7 from 21. You have to bring this one back after 21. So using that same formula, divide 21 divided by 7 equals 3. So there's your sort of multiplier of what you're going to use. So 3 times 7 is 21. Yes? And 3 times 2 is 6. Okay. So then you've got minus 3 over 21, which leaves you with 21. So someone gave me a few questions to go over the other day, so I'd like to share them with you, see what you think, and see if you can follow how to basically subtract and add and follow what fractions really are. So this one was a nice neat one. So basically you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. So we've got 2 circles. We need to wipe that board because it's got something on there with the pen not working now. So we've got 2 circles which represents pizzas if you want, and then you've got a minus, and is basically subtraction of fractions. So it explains that you've got 8 slices. So this is going to be your 8 slices. Yeah. And you've got 8 slices in that one as well. Okay. And then you've got an equal sign, and they put in a box where you fill in the fraction. So on this one here, you've got 6 slices shaded. Okay. I'm doing it in red so it makes it a bit easier for you to read. Otherwise you might get confused with the blue. But yeah, you've got 6 slices here. That's 5. Nearly there. 6. There you go. So basically you got 6 slices shaded and the other 2 are free. They're not there. Not shaded. So that would be represented as, if you wanted to work it out as a fraction, that would be represented as, because it's 8 slices and 6 of them are shaded, that would be 6 out of 8. 6/8. In other words, 6 slices out of 8. 8 being the whole of the pizza. And this one here has 3 slices shaded. So let's shade in 3 slices. So this is the question. Okay, so if you was to sort of answer that, you could easily say, oh, 6 slices minus 3 slices is 3 slices. But then that's not a fraction. So we need to answer that as a fraction because it's asking that subtracted from this equals what as a fraction. So this would be 6/8. And then it'll be minus 3 because it's 3 and the whole pizza is 8. So there we are. So this one now remains 8 and this one is 6 minus 3 equals 3. So the 3 would go in here and the 8 would go in there. So that would be the correct way that answer would be done. Okay, so we do another one now, which is quite easy. By the way, if anybody doesn't understand any of this, just comment below and I can go over it again on any particular one that you don't understand. I don't mind doing that. But addition wise, there's a few of them there. So it's 1, 7, plus 47, 920 minus 420, and 5/16 plus 9/16, and 12/18 minus 6/18. So each of them has got an equal sign with a box in where there's a fraction as an answer, because a fraction minus a fraction or a plus fraction is going to be a fraction. Yeah? So basically, as I said before, the lower figure, which is the denominator of a fraction, always remains the same if both of them are the same. You don't have to make it up. So in each one of these, you can just put in 7 like that, 16 like this, yeah, to start it off. And then you can just say 1 plus 4 is 5, so there's your answer, and 5 plus 9 is 14. So the answer here would be 1/7 plus 4/7 is 5/7. 5/16 plus 9/16 is 14/16. And this one here, 20 remains the same. 9 minus 4 is 5. And 12 minus 6 is 6. And this remains the same, 18. Okay, you can simplify these, some of them, especially these two. So like that one would be 1/4 if you wanted to simplify it, and that one would be 1/3. So basically, if you divided that into that, so it's 20 divided by 5 is 4, so it's 1/4. And then the same thing with this one. 6 into 18 equals 3, so it's 1/3. So basically 6/18 is the same as 1/3, and 5/20 is 1/4. Okay? We can come to the next question. I love these questions. Bit confusing sometimes, but it's got to be done. So it's saying, what is 9/10 minus 3/10? That's the question. What is written like that in wording, just to confuse you. 9/10, okay, minus 3/10, minus 3/10. That's a bit of a mouthful, that, isn't it? So they give you a box, which is like a rectangle, more so, to give your answer. Now, why would they want to do that? Because they want the answer in writing, like that, wording, rather than a fraction. But to be honest with you, to work this out, this is how I would work it out. I would break it down into turning it into a fraction in numbers. So 9/10 would be written as 9/10. And then it says minus, and then it says 3/10, which is 3/10. Yes? Now it becomes very easy and apparent that the 10 remains the same. 9 minus 3 equals 6. So the answer would be 6/10. And then you can write down 6/10. in there. Okay? So if the question isn't like that, and they're asking you in wording, you have to answer the question in wording, but there's nothing telling you that you're not allowed to show you're working out in numbers to ease how to do it, to make it easy for you. And this is imperative that children, I know you're only like, say, 7 years old or 8 years old, but if you tell your kids to show the working out, it really helps them to get into a habit of doing it all the way through their years in the future. If you don't and they just answer it, the teacher might only give you half a mark, or they might not give you a mark, because at the end of the day, it's their discretion. You have to show you're working out. The teacher might think that as a parent, you might have done it. You might have just told her the answer, or she might have cheated or anything like that, or he might have cheated. So it's better, I think, if you tell your children to make sure that they show they're working out, so the teacher knows that yes, you are doing it properly as well, and then they can correct you as well in a manner which is appropriate, that, oh, we can see from your working out where you went wrong, and this is where you went wrong. It's easier for them. While if you give an answer, they will never know how you worked it out. Just a piece of advice. I always advise all my students that way anyway. So let's go on to the next one. That was quite an interesting one, that actually. But they're still not too hard. I mean, these are questions really for year three questions. These are, so be about 7 years old, 8 years old, but. You'll be surprised at how many adults there are out there that don't understand these sort of questions as well. So yeah, get free to join in. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's a little bit of education. You know, this one's a nice one. I like this one. So Zane ran 3/16 of a mile on Tuesday. Okay? And then, and 6/16 of a mile on Thursday. So, how far did he run? How far did he run in total? So let's rewrite it. Zane ran 3/16 of a mile on Tuesday. So you can just put Tuesday if you want, and just put 3/16. Is that easier? And then you put down on a Thursday, yeah, he ran 6/16. So then they say in one day and the next day, what is the total? So just put a plus in. Yeah? So the 16 remains common, which is the denominator. And the numerator you add together, so it's 6 plus 3 equals 9. So your answer would be 9/16. So they give you a box to say, to put your answer in, which is like that. Obviously they want the answer in as a fraction, not in wording. which is very important, and it says on them miles. So obviously if they want the answer in miles, we put it's miles. If it's centimeters, it'll be centimeters. Kilometers will be kilometers. So you just put them in the box now, which is 9/16, and that's your answer. It won't be able to simplify anyway, so there's no use. Well, you can actually, yeah. Yeah, you can simplify that. Three and 3 goes into 6. No, you can't simplify that. Sorry. So no, you can't simplify that, but no. Anyway, 9/16 of a mile. They put miles, but it means mile anyway, because it's a portion of a mile really. Unless he ran 16 miles. Well, it was 16 miles in total, and he actually ran 9 miles. That could make sense as well. Okay, moving on. I don't want to get too much into it because it gets too complicated then. And I start having debates about it otherwise. Right, nice easy one. Add these fractions together, shade in the fraction bar to help you. So basically we've got a bar of chocolate, and it's 14, so it's 7, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so line down the middle, and you've got a bar of chocolate, and with this bar of chocolate you have 14 squares. So they're saying add these fractions together. Add these fractions together with the help of this box. So we're saying 2, 7, 2, 7 plus 3, 14. I think we've done this before. So we've got an equal sign here, and then you've got a fraction box, so you can put your answer in. But if you remember earlier on, I did say that because that is a 14 and that's a 7, you can't plus or minus with the same with a different number. You have to make it the same. So we're going to have to make this one up. So if we make this one up and rewrite it so that we can divide, say, 14 by 7 is 2, yes? And then we use that 2 to multiply that 2 to make it 4. So then we have to rewrite it. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 7 is 14. Now this one becomes the same as that one. So plus 3 over 14. So 14 remains the same. And the 3 plus 4 equals 7. Okay? So the other way, we worked this out like that, but we could use the bar of chocolate. So if you look at 2, 7, 2 rows, out of the 2 rows, because there's 14, it'd have to be 2 7ths on one row and another 2 7ths on the other row. Because it's out of 14, not out of 7. Okay? So if we use this one, because we've obviously made it the same, so 4 squares would have to be shaded first. So if we use the red one, so you can see it better. Okay? So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 chocolates. 4 chocolate squares, yes? Out of 14. And then plus another 3. So there's your 1, 2, 3. Okay? Total number of squares that have been eaten would be 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And what have we got here? 7. So you know it makes sense and is correct. Now you can write it in here and finish your question. 7, 14. And that can be simplified. It's basically a half. So if you look at it logically, if we shaded in one line completely of 7 and ignored that one, this is another way of doing it, and then you could see where the half comes from. So basically you've got you still got your 14 squares of chocolate. So now instead of the way we done it before, 4 this way, we do 4 this way. So there's your 4. And then you're another 3. So you should be able to see it now that half of the bar of chocolate is gone. Yes? Which is 1 row of 7. 7 plus 7 is 14 as a total. So 7/14 is a half. You just proved it. Okay. We'll do one more and then I'm going to finish there because otherwise you might get a bit, it might get a bit too much for you. But we'll continue another one then tomorrow. We'll do something else. See if we can get a complicated one a little bit. Yeah, here's a nice one for you. So, Amir has 12 drinks. Okay, 12 drinks during the day. During the day, he has 12 drinks. That's what that means. Now, he likes what does he like? He likes Coke and he likes Tango. So basically, there's 2 type of drinks that he likes, but they're saying there's 12 drinks altogether. So if he had 5 Tangos, if he had 5 Tangos to drink, yes, then how many Cokes did he have? If he had 5, not necessarily he had to drink them, but say if he just had 5. If he had 5 tangos, then how many Cokes did he have? And the answer has got to be as a fraction. This is the tricky part. So the answer has got to be as a fraction. So how are we going to answer that? First of all, we need to find out how many drinks, how many Cokes there are. So it would be 12 minus 5 equals 7. Okay? So there must be, if there's 5 tangos, there must be 7 Cokes. So now we've established that. But we have to give the answer as a fraction. So, is it safe to say that 7/12 is Coke? And then, shall we say that 5/12 is tangos? Yeah? So tangos is 5/12 and Cokes is 7/12. So if we added them together, you would get 12 out of 12. Which is basically the 12 drinks. So the answer is going to be, what was the amount of Cokes? So the Cokes is going to be 7/12. So 7 out of 12, isn't it? So 7/12 goes in there. Yeah? Easy? And that's it, I think, today. I could go on with a few. This is a tricky one. And last one, this is a tricky one. And see if you can work this one out. Because a lot of people work this too differently and get it wrong because they don't understand the question. So this is important. This is one of the questions that I had. And you can interpret it wrong because of the way our mind works. Our mind works to read it too quickly. So it's easy to misjudge this. So let's go with an easy one like this. 1/2 of a box blank is 15. And the other one was 1/6 of blank is 5. And the last one, blank of 9 is 3. Okay? So if I do 1 for you, I expect maybe you guys could do the others yourself and leave the comment on below what you think is the answer. And let's see if you can get it right. You can pause this at any time on the video and just have a quick look at it. So I'll show you how to work it out. A lot of people will do this. 1/2 of blank is 15 and they think, oh, this is easy, 7.5. They'll just half the 15. Well then, but if you read it properly, it is not really saying that what is half of 15, is it? It's asking you 1/2 of blank, which could be any number, is 15. So, if it's half, you have to double 15, then it will become 30. So the answer would be 30. Or you could rewrite it. If you rewrite it like this, 1/2 of blank equals 15, then it's 2 times 15 equals 30. Okay, so I'll leave you with that one and that one. Give me the answers and let's see how you do. I'm finishing there for today, but stay safe, stay inside, stay out of trouble, and keep alive, stay indoors. Goodbye.